Okay, so let's do this in half an hour. So Zev wanted to do this question of how much, if at all, do we still derive halacha from psukim? So the first point I'll make is that even if we didn't at all, the notion that we are not responsible to understand the connection between what we do and the Torah is just wrong. And you've heard this from me a million times probably, but the Rambam is very clear, as I put in source 1, that part of the halacha of Talmud Torah and the definition of Gemara is, in the second line, v'yavin midot shatorah nidreshet behen ad sheyeda heachi ikara midot v'heach yotzi ha'asur v'hamutar v'chayotz men midvarim shalaman mipi hashmua. Definitional to Talmud Torah for the Rambam is the ability to understand how things come from the psukim. So it's not even if we decide in the end of the day you aren't allowed to learn any new halachot, right? You need to at least be aware of the way in which our halacha, and therefore when people say, well, we don't know the drashot, right, and give up, it's just wrong. Meaning it's just wrong. You want to be Maimonidean and a Brisker, and therefore say, well, I don't really care about the drashot, I care about the lamdus. Very good, but you are not being Mekayim Talmud Torah according to the Rambam. Shet Teda. Okay, Shet Teda. Second point.
Yeah, why don't we?
What?
Why don't we
Why don't we? Why don't I do?
No, you do.
In my shir, we do. Do we not? Do we not spend time before we start any mitzvah trying to understand how the halacha came out of the psukim? Yeah. Thank you.
I see.
Who's we? Right? I do this b'shita because I think you're chayiv to.
It's fair.
I make sure to ask that.
The kasha is why do other people not why do I? Right? Okay. Point 1. Point 2. Is, and we've seen this Rambam extensively, so I don't need to go back through it with you. It's dafka biblical law where one Bezdin doesn't have the final say in the sense that a later Bezdin can challenge them. So in principle, you should think that the ability to darshan psukim should still be live, and we have to explain why that's not the case. But it's fundamentally, it's dafka, the drasha psukim, which is supposed to be live and is not subject to the limiting rules of gadol men and b'chachmo v'minyan, for all the reasons we talked about on that Shabbos a few weeks ago. So based on all that, you would think that you should. So why is it that people think that you shouldn't? What?
Maybe only based on that.
Good. So let's try to figure it out. So first, the question is: do poskim still use psukim halach l'maisa in ways that are not mentioned in Chazal?
Right.
That's really the question. We're not talking about. Fine, you should understand how Chazal got to the drasha. We can argue about that. We can't really, but that's not the issue, right? The issue is: do we l'maisa derive new halachot from psukim not mentioned in Chazal?
Shivas Yom Tochal Matzos.
Right.
Whatever. So. The best way I have found to prove that we do is from several achronim who were so convinced that we didn't that they compiled lists of everybody who seemed to violate the rule and said, how do these list of 200 poskim who derive new halachot from psukim, how do they do that?
They must be wrong.
If you're not allowed to do that. So it's not me who's identifying cases where I think they're doing that. It's in certain cases the Rishonim, in most cases the Achronim, picking up on the fact that many Rishonim and many Achronim seem to think that you could. So, for example, look at number 4. The Rambam. The Rambam has a very surprising halacha. What Isser does one violate if he eats human flesh?
Not.
According to the Gemara,
non-kosher.
So the Gemara.
Straight.
So no, you don't. Why would you?
Right? The gush.
Right.
So
the Dor V is a shita.
So good. The Dor V said that it's ethical, whatever. Right? It's TV. No, that would be chavala.
Yeah.
That would be chavala.
Okay.
But the Rambam, but the Gemara never tells you why it's usher, if it's usher even to eat human. Again, you can't kill humans and you can't take off their limbs. We mean like dead flesh. Okay, let's just be clear.
Already existing.
Yes. So the Rambam says, "Adam afupisha ne'emar bo vayhi adam lenevesh chaya." Eino mechlal mine chaya ba'lat parsa. Lefichach eino below ta'aseh. This is clear. He's not in the law because he's not a chaya. Va'ochel v'asar adam umechel bo mim v'nachai ben ha'met ein lo lokeh. So you don't get malchus. But the Rambam is then mechadesh aval asur behu ba'aseh. But there is an isur aseh mideoraisa. Sharei mana katuv shivat minei chaya, because the pasuk says there are 7 types of chaya. V'amar bahen zod hachaya asher tochlu. Hakol shu chutz man the loto. 1 second. Hachaya asher tochelu. Which pasuk is he quoting? I want to just get that right. But the Rambam says that it's an isur aseh. Asher tochlu. Zorachai asher tochlu. I got it right the first time. Oh, yeah, that's by chaya is tochlu. Hakol shu chutz man lo tochlu. V'lava b'michlal aseh. And guess what Gemara that comes from? None. Not Bavli, not Yerushalmi, not Sifrei, not Sifra, right? Nowhere.
Right.
And so you would say maybe there's a pasuk you don't know about, maybe, I don't know, a Gemara I don't know about, but the Ra'ah in 5 tells you, right, the Ra'ah, right? We know the Ra'ah,
Yes.
Ran Halevi, right, the Talmud of, right? He's really the Rebbe of the Ritva,
Yeah, okay.
right? Meaning he's a Talmud of the Ramban, contemporaneous of the Rashba,
That's right.
right? People say the Ritva is a Talmud of the Rashba. It's not really true. He's somewhat a Talmud of the Rashba. He's really a Talmud of the Ra'ah. He says, "V'divrei teimahein." Dot anan litlan the midrash cry v'lo darshihu l'rabanan. Ma bidam. Chazal didn't say this. Where is he coming up with an isur aseh mideoraisa? But at least now, again, this is the best way to prove that certain poskim did it, because it's not me saying that the Rambam did it. It is the Ra'ah saying that the Rambam did it. And if you look at number 3, Rebelio Mizrahi says, "Avolo yadati echan matzah lidrosh odam b'emeino inyan." V'lo ein kol damar shelatzo zeh chutz mechad me'amishnah v'atalmud shekol divrei divrei kabbalah. Avolo l'shom echad zulatam afilu gaonim harishonim v'kol sheken labay machreihem. Right? No one is allowed to use this eino inyan except for Mishnah, right? Except for Chazal, not the gaonim, not the rishonim. Except what is he doing in context? So he's telling you very clearly what's his rule. You can't make up drasha post Chazal.
Eino Indian means what? That's a
Right? Eino inyan lezet, so put it there, right? You know, if it's not in here, use it in somewhere else. But what does he say? So Rebbe Mizrahi is saying he thinks you can't do it, and clearly he's responding to
people who say
people who did it. Look at 6. Stechemet. Drashot me'atzmeinu ein lanu la'asot. Afshanim to drasha zol inyan echad b'shas in losh madenu gam linan acher. We can't make our own derivations, even if there's a similar derivation in shas for another purpose. We can't expound on it, except if you continued in that Stechemet, as I note for you. He lists a million poskim who violated this rule. He says, how could this person, all these people violate the rules? Right? Which tells you there were plenty of people who thought that this was in fact not a rule. Now why are people so convinced that this is a rule? So either they're convinced that we just don't have the tools, or you have the Chazon Ish, which I've mentioned many times, or that the Chazon Ish darshans from this weird Agadata in Gemara, in Avodah Zarah Daf Tet, that Tan D'Beliyahu Sheish Elfim Shana Evei Ha'olam, Shnei Elfim Torah, Shnei Elfim Yemona Mashiach. The world is 6,000 years, 2,000 desolation, 2,000 Torah, 2,000 Mashiach, which the Chazon Ish understands in Ilchot Treifot. This is a magic rule. Tkufat Chazal, drashot. After that, no drashot. But here we have very, very serious poskim.
We're in Messianic
What?
days now. We're in Messianic.
We're in the Messianic era. Very good. Whatever that means. Now I can give you other examples. So if you want other examples from major poskim, right? Major poskim, Rishonim. So we already have the Rambam on the list according to the Ra. That's pretty good.
Right.
But it's pretty good as things go.
It's your guy. Sure. I hope it's your guy too. I like that song.
But
I'm a Reform guy.
if we want to give you other examples, so I'll give you one I didn't put on the page. Let me take an Achron for a minute. I'll take the Netziv, or this is an example I like from the Netziv, where he's willing to use this limaisa against accepted psak. So the halacha, nifsak lahalacha, is a father allowed to tell a child who to marry?
No.
No, why not?
Because why would he be able to? What would
So
be the focus?
the psak that's nifsak lahalacha, based on the maharik. Maharik and Shuvakuf Samachvav, which is nifsak lahalacha in Shulchan Aruch and the Ramah, is that the parameters of the extent of Hilchot Kibbut Ava'im are only things which are for the benefit of the father. Right? And this is not. Right? This is the son's own life. Plus, he has other svarot. There's other svarot there. Okay, it's also that it's right nidnud avera because there's a chiyuv to have a happy marriage based on a very extended derivation from asur ladam shekadesh isha ad sheir and Hashem yir b'davar meguna v'titzgana lav over v'aftorecha kamocha, right? An expansion of that principle, right? That you can't get married until you see your wife, because you might see something disgusting, then violate v'aftorecha kamocha, which is understood by the poskim to mean that there is a halachic value in ensuring they have a happy marriage, and therefore this is some sort of isser because you are negating that. This is the accepted halacha.
What does it mean to see your wife?
Like you have to look at her.
Not naked.
No, just see
Look
her.
at her.
The Gemara gets into that issue, not in the sugya, in other sugya, which is, right, can you assume that if there was a mum on a covered part of the body, that the husband can be expected to know? And the Gemara gets into, well, it depends. Is it a city with a bathhouse? Right, because then his sister or his mother or his whatever might have been in the bath at the same time. He can be expected to have seen it, but no, that's not what he's talking about in terms of the man seeing her. But that's the accepted halacha. The Netziv says, yeah, okay, that's nice. Unless it would degrade the father. Unless it would degrade the father. Why? What does that do? He says, well, because there's a third isser that no one talked about. The Gemara says there's kibbut ava'im and mura ava'im. But everyone forgot that there's another one, and that is makle. The pasuk in the Klalot in Dvarim says, "Arur makle aviv ima." What is makle? He says, causing bizayon gadol, and therefore because it's bizayon gadol, then he can say, "Oh, new mitzvah, new mitzvah."
I see why people don't do these structures, because they can get very out of hand.
Fine, in a chanami. And by the way, Rabbi Ovadia Yosef bends over backwards to figure out how to negate the power of the Netziv lahalacha, because he does not want to accept that this is a thing. But,
Why can't you say we don't possibly?
I mean, you could, but that's not how Rabbi Ovadia works. He's like, first of all, we don't paskin like it, but...
But what?
What?
I don't know, but what?
But, I could also explain it away. And it is really quite, it's pretty crazy. Right? He bends over backwards, really. He says, he gets into this whole thing that maybe it's true, but only in objective bizayon of the madrega of marrying a Kanani, and that's why Avram was allowed to tell Yitzchak not to marry a Kanani. Doesn't it violate the tshuva, the marik? Oh no, because I have the Netziv. So I can kill two birds with one stone. On the one hand, I can say that there's a category of machla, but I can limit the Netziv in light of the Maisa of Avram and Yitzchak and say that it's a fascinating amount of mental gymnastics. You get this in Gerus, in Rishonim. The Gemara says that you know that you can have gerus post the
Korban.
without korban
Oh, korban.
because it says Ludoro Sam, right? Ludoro Sam.
Right.
But several of the Chachmei Sfard
Right.
take that drasha and they say, and based on that, even though we don't have Bezdin anymore, you can have gerus because we know the gerus must always be possible. Ludoro
It
Sam.
also says that by like korbanos that they're the chukol level.
Yeah, I know. We talked about that. I got it. But several Rishon, like Chachmei Sfard, come up with this new drasha, which is, if the Gemara says it by Karban, it must be that's what we justify having gerus without Bezdin, without Musmachim.
Okay.
Right? A new drasha, right?
Oh, new drasha. I see. Well, what was the Gemara? What did the Gemara use that drasha for?
That we don't need a Karban.
But if
That
we
you can
don't
care
need-
that a korban.
So they said, we also don't need a basin.
Yeah, but we don't need a Bezdin Musmachim.
I see.
Right? You need to. Then again, right? These are major. Which again, remember, that's where Elazar Mizrahi said breaks the rules.
Sfard
Wait.
saying you could do gerus?
We have gerus nowadays.
Only the Chachmei Sfard say this.
No. This is how they justify it. Other posts can have other justifications, but
Wait, is it possible that they're using a svar to extend?
remember, Elazar Mizrahi said you're not allowed to do that.
What do you mean?
Right? That was what the Mizrahi said you're not allowed to do that. That was what the Stechemet said. That even if you find a drasha for one purpose, you can't expand it to another purpose.
Oh, maybe they say it's the same category of things. It's like
I don't know. It's an
somehow-
expansion, clearly fine, but,
Right, but we have-
that violates at least an extreme reading of the Stechemet, which is you can't take a drasha and expand it beyond what the Gemara said you could do with it.
Right, well, where's the line between like having a svar to be makil and like extending a drasha? Where's the line between them?
He says you can never do that. You can't do any of that.
You can't
Whatever the drasha is in the Gemara, it is, and that's
You
it.
can come up with chidushim in the Gemara.
Yeah, but you can't
Yeah,
be mechadish drasha. You can't expand a drasha.
So who says they're doing that? Maybe they're just
Well, that is what they're doing. The Gemara doesn't use it. He says you can't do that.
so.
Now again, you can stay. So we don't agree with the Stechemet, but we still agree with the Ra'ah.
Right, okay.
Right? Maybe you can expand the drasha. You can't make your own. Very good, but the Rambam doesn't agree with that. Right? And then Ziv didn't agree with that. Lamaisa. Right? Lamaisa, they do this.
Right.
Interestingly, there has been a tremendous amount of research done, specifically within the work of the Or Sameach. The Or Sameach seems to think that the Rambam, left, right, and center, is deriving halacha, at least deriving halacha, right? If not making up drasha, which he did there, or making up completely new mitzvot, like the Netziv, is at least paskening halacha based on his straight interpretation of sukkim. So, for example, if you look at number 9, David HaMelech kills the Na'ar Amaleki who comes and tells him that he killed Shaul. Okay, that's the background. Now look at the Rambam in number 10. Whether you kill a healthy person or a sick person who's dying, I feel haraget agoses, even agoses, right, who's mamish on his deathbed, or the translation in his death throes. The halachic translation of agoses is someone who, if you touch them, they would die. Right? That's that's how that's the moment we're talking about. So he is killed, but right, it's considered murder. V'im hayagoses bidei adam kagon sheyiku ad shenat lamuz arehu goses. Horego so in Bezdin Amisino so. But the Rambam is mechadesh that this is only. The Rambam contends, however, this is only a goses bidei shamayim, but a goses bidei adam you are not chayev misa for killing him. Okay. The Or Sameach, now this is not a halacha in the Rambam. You'll see that this is a proof about the way the Or Sameach understands the Rambam. So it's a proof about a 20th century posek. But still, okay? The Or Sameach is medayek here, and he says, okay, the Rambam gets that from the Gemara, but he adds something that the Gemara doesn't say, which is he said specifically, Ein Bezdin Mamisinoso. Bezdin doesn't kill him.
Oh man, but a person can kill him?
What? No. A melech can kill him. He's mechadesh that midin melech Yisrael, he's chayav. And that's why the Rambam was so midayik. Now, you'll tell me that's not compelling.
Right.
Okay, maybe it's not compelling in the Rambam, but what does it prove? That the Or Sameach thought that it was legitimate for the Rambam to create a new halacha based on psukim, a navi. Again, I don't find this compelling. That is what the Rambam meant. But the Or Sameach was comfortable with that being halacha l'maisa. And what?
What about Ein Navi Rashal Chadesh Davar Me'at?
It's not big mechadesh.
From Navi, he's getting the halacha.
What?
He's getting the halacha.
Again,
First of all, that's not what the phrase "Ein Navi Roshai L'Chadash Davar Me'ata" means. That means a Navi can't be Chadash halacha. In general, we don't derive halachot from Nach, but sometimes we'll get Giling Milsa from Nach.
Right.
We don't get a new halacha, but he's assuming the Rambam is at least allowed to do Giling Milsas from Nach. That the Gemara doesn't say. Again, is it proof? Is this good in the Rambam? Not so much. But is the Or Sameach comfortable with it?
Yeah.
Yes. And just to show you, if you look at the Tzitz Eliezer, I just want to sort of build up evidence here. He at least takes this seriously. He says, Yesh la'ayin. Right? He says, Yesh la'ayin, al makor zel shor samech shemevi me'ayi degar malikin gozis b'di adam, etc. And what's the Tzitz Eliezer's critique of the Or Sameach? Not, he's wrong, but, and not, he can't learn halacha from Sukkim. What's his proof? What's his response? Nah, maybe it's a special halacha that the person who kills a Mashiach Hashem is Chayiv Misa, and that's what I found in the Ralbag. But, what do you get? This is like a classic case, right? You left the, right?
Yeah, there's no Gemara anymore.
Right, you leave the Ov, Matzah, right? You Pagab, right? You were saved from the Dove and you met the Ari. Right, meaning the Tzitzel is like, I don't like the Or Sameach because I think you should paskin and create a different halacha that Mashiach Hashem is killing Mashiach Hashem is Chayiv Misa based on they're all bag ala Torah, right? Anach, right? Meaning the Tzitzel Eliezer doesn't even blink that this is a drasha from Navi, right? And here's where something you have to take a step back methodologically, regardless of whether you're convinced by anything that's going on here, which I'm not. The Tzitzel Eliezer, who's a major 20th century posek, is taking Or Sameach, who assumes that the Rambam is inventing halachos based on his own reading of Navi, and saying, I disagree, but only because I think it's a different halacha, l'maisa, based on my understanding of the pasuk, based on an Ralbag. Right? Meaning you have these major poskim who are like, meh, right? This doesn't even bother me. Look at another halacha. Shulchan Aruch says, Ein molichin meis me'ir sheish b'kvaros l'ir acheres elam gen michutz la'aretz. You're not allowed to disinter bodies, move them from graves to graves, unless it's from chutz la'aretz Eretz Yisrael. And the Ramah says, O shemolichin oso l'makom kfuros avosav. Okay? Or you're moving into his father's ones. Look at 14. Look at Ramosha. Okay? Ramosha says, he says, I think that this means the father's plot. Okay? But then he quotes, Aval Hagon Remeir Simcha Kohen Balor Sameach, Vasovich Osmachos, Chideshim Kohen Makom Gadol, Likever Mishpacha, Gamzen Nechshav Kvar Avosav, Linin Shemut Elfanaz Losham Ben Linin Isser Binoy Ben Lisser Holacham Leir, etc. And what's his Hochacha? Shei Masha Elazar HaKohen, Shamuchach Leishev Tamid B'Shilo, Mimkein Meit B'Shilo, Bekom Nikvar B'Givat Pinchas. Right? His proof, the Or Sameach is Mechadesh, that you're allowed to move bodies from one place to another because he says, this is not even a drush of a pasuk, because obviously Elazar HaKohen was moved from where he lived, because he always lived in one place, and he was moved and buried B'Givat Pinchas in Har Ephraim.
The pasuk doesn't say that that's what happened. He just
it says he was buried in Har Ephraim, and he derives, but he must have lived in Shiloh, so Mamela, you see, they moved his body. But Pinchas is great-great-great-grandfather. So you see it's halacha. Okay, again, you find that drasha compelling? Not my problem.
crazy.
Right? But look at Ramosha. Ramosha says, "L'maisim after lifosh levino aviem v'adisar l'shadev l'motzar gadol l'ameiz v'chadeh." So ideally, I would tell you not to do it. But look at the bolded part. Achim Efshar Lefol B'Shum Ofen Kedayo Gon Meir Simcha Zal Shugon Gadol V'Dar Kodon Lismoch Alav Shlol Limchos.
You can relax.
Right? He says, but you have to rely on it. It's right. Now, in a different tshuva on the same shaila, look at the end. He says, "V'gam blozen uchal lejosh krayim atzreinu." He said, in a different tshuva, he says, no, you can't do that because you're darshaning from psukim. So in one tshuva, Moshe said, this is completely irrelevant because it's from psukim. In another tshuva, it's not like the Tzitz Eliezer. Moshe is not so on board with this, but he doesn't rule it out completely, at least in one tshuva. He says, if a big posek said it, okay, I'm willing to. Again, is he completely okay with this? No. But at least in the first tshuva, does he completely write out anything derived new from psukim? No, he thinks that this is something that, it's dachuk, he doesn't love it. And in certain tshuva, he totally rejects it. So Ramosha is definitely more on the side of we're not allowed to do this. But it's Eliezer, Bechlal is not worried about this.
Right.
You get and again, this goes on and on. Meshech Chachma is like the one who does this all over. If you look at 15, the Meshech Chachma proves from the case of Moshe that Hashem tells him, go back to Mitzrayim because everyone who wanted to kill you has died. He derives the halacha that even if Kol Yisrael tzrichim lecha, you don't have to risk your life to go back, and that's why Hashem had to tell Moshe, go back because what's it called?
You were going to die.
Right.
Oh, no, because they're allowed.
Correct. Now, if you look at 16, right, the Heichal Yitzchak, which is Rav Herzog, says this is insane. Right? He just says, if you look at the bolded part, Vadai Sheinu Yisod Livnot Alav Halacha. This is absolutely crazy. He's like, you don't build halacha like that. Right? So here you see a different posek who is
Very against it.
totally against it. I gave you another one in the Tzitz Eliezer consistently takes it seriously. So in 17, he takes another proof from the Meshech Chachma who says that he proves from the fact that Yericho, the Isser of Yericho was only to be rebuilt once, but after that it could be rebuilt. That the same thing is true of Nir Nidachat, and Tzitz Eliezer is like, that's exactly other way around. And then he says, and that's why the Rambam never mentions the prohibition of building Yericho. Right? Again, so my point is just that you see this over and over in the Tzitz Eliezer, that he takes this seriously. So, again, that's fine. My point is just, right, not to go through this extensively.
Yeah.
My point is that you have poskim who really do think, as you've always been taught, you aren't allowed to learn new.
Right.
You have the Steichemet and Elazar Mizrachi and Rav Herzog, and for the most part, Moshe. Right? But then you have the way the Ra understands the Rambam, all of the poskim that the Steichemet got angry at, and the An Malachi got angry at. You have the Ra who thinks the Rambam did this. You have the Or Sameach who left, right, and center is comfortable doing this. You have the Tzitz Eliezer who takes all these drushot seriously, the halacha, and sometimes he takes it so seriously that he just argues on it based on other similar made-up things, right? Interpretations of psukim that are not found in Chazal. So I think that, do we have new drasha? The answer is, it's really a machlokes. It's really a serious machlokes. Right. That there are those poskim who really say no, but the picture is a lot more complicated. Bein b'tkufat rishonim, bein ad hayom. Right? Meaning, in the middle, I could show you a million. But I've given you examples now. The Rambam, the Ramban Rashba, right? The Netziv, right? Meshech Chachma, Tzitz Eliezer, meaning I'm giving you examples of major poskim up to and including the 21st century. Who are open to this. Now I will note, and this, we're really out of time, so I'll note this very quickly, that I think that obviously, even if you come to the conclusion that you really shouldn't derive halach from drasha, that doesn't from psukim nowadays, that doesn't mean in any way, shape, or form that that's not true. It doesn't completely mean that psukim are independently not normative at all.
What would be the difference?
So what's the difference? So for example, right, it's one thing to say we can't do drasha, but it's to say that we only paskin based on the Gemara and psukim we only understand through the lens of Chazal. if you look, I gave you the Ramban in two places, but the Ramban's theory of Kedoshim Tiyu and Vasija Sheretov, that the way you determine halacha in the gray areas, or what you should do in the gray areas of life, is by painting the spirit of the law based on the mitzvot and based on how you understand the Torah. Clearly,
That's based on Psukim.
right? I mean, clearly that type of normative but not halachic
Yeah.
argument is true. Meaning, and that's why I think, if you're asking the broader question, which is what role do psukim have directly in normative behavior, so we've seen it's machloket either on halacha tzrufa.
Right.
But there are many areas of normative in the sense of, the Rambam's 5 levels, mitzvah, and then like ra'ui, right? Good things to do, that like Torah sanctioned things, where clearly you're supposed to be doing it. And here you get halacha. So I gave you the Noda Yehuda. Noda Yehuda, when he said hunting is usher, well, he didn't say hunting is usher. Everyone quotes him as saying it's usher. He didn't. He said it's not usher, but you shouldn't do it. Why shouldn't you do it? Because the only hunters we have in Tanakh are Nimrod and Esav. So it's not the type of thing that the Bnei Avram, Yitzchak, and Yaakov should do. So what do you see from him? He's saying, look, in a Chanami, this is not halacha.
It's like a yitzvah.
Yeah, but the Noda Yehuda paskins this way, right? But he says, it's not that it's usher. Right, meaning it's not usher. He says it's mutter maker adin.
Right.
But it's the wrong thing to do, and how do I know? Because I'm taking the stories of the Torah seriously.
Yeah.
And therefore, this is just sort of my nuance at the end, is that I think, obviously, even if you take the hardline position, right, there are areas in which independent understanding of Chumash is going to be important for normative, if not legal, claims, right? And that's just something that, again, that may be obvious, but it's worth saying in this context. At the time, it had just been after, when I first gave this share, it had been right after I don't know if you heard the wedding of hate. Whatever, it made quite a stir, because it was a wedding in which there were Kahnists who were, whatever. It got quite violent, and they were buhule. So I gave you an example there. So some Facebook posts of some thoughts about it. But anyways, those are my basic thoughts on these issues, right? Like I said, even within the halacha, there's room, much more room than you probably were taught.
Yeah.
And in the meta ones, I don't think this is really controversial, but at least worth noting as a corrective.